think that the Houston Texans were garbage, but they got a pretty good handful in this year's draft. Makes you wonder, what do they know that we don't know? So. Hey everybody, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic, and today we're talking about the Houston Texans and their 2024 draft class, and um, just the Houston Texans in general. I mean, we're, Texans, we're talking about them. So Houston. So we forget. Did we forget the Texans were good, or surprisingly good with all the rookies they had, and then they got Joe Mix and Stephon Diggs, and you just can't help but feel like they were good. But why does it feel like they're panicking, like they're overcompensating, and why does it feel like they're going all in? When I could have sworn there was another team in Texas that said they were gonna go all in, but somehow it was Houston that went all in, while the other team in Texas didn't. And why do I feel like that the Houston quarterback is treated with much more favoritism than the Dallas quarterback? Interesting. And fun enough, the Texans didn't have a first round pick, but they still bundled up. So it's a long list, it's a lot of picks, and a lot of questions on what do they know that we don't know. So with the we're going to start with the second round. With the 42nd selection in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans selected Kamir Lassiter, cornerback, Georgia. Now, Derek Singleton, I did believe he was still effective. He's still been a great asset. One of the first early picks of the Texans regime. And then you got Jeff Okudo, and then you got C.J. Henderson. So a combination of players. Heck, I see some player like Desmond King, M.J. Stewart. I see a lot of players I used to hear the names on other teams, now currently on this team. So it's kind of interesting to see that. And then you see Lassiter, who was being viewed as the backup to Derek Singleton, Derek Stingley Jr. Sorry, wasn't Singleton Jr. So I see him being already projected as the backup to a corner, which I felt like I thought it would have made more sense if Lassiter was more on the right cornerback side. But sometimes some players are more comfortable on the right and left side than just saying I play corner and then say put me anywhere. When sometimes percentage, or maybe it's development, or maybe it's just package system, maybe just schemes. But I really do feel that even picking so late, this pick still feels like a great swing. Yeah, I feel good about this. I feel really good about this pick for the corner for the secondary side of it. Even though, like I said, there's a lot of players that used to hear their names on other teams currently on this team. So who knows? Maybe when after preseason we'll find out that he gets moved to right corner and it becomes Derek and Kamir week 1. We don't know, but I feel like this is, with all the delays, good first pick to start us off. With the 59th pick, still in the second round, of the 2024 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans selected Blake Fisher, offensive tackle, Notre Dame. Now, without being too a Notre Dame fanboy favorite, it also feels nice to see Notre Dame getting its still positivity when it comes to the caliber of player we have, even though sometimes it looks like Notre Dame is prestigious. And then when they play against, teams that are high quality or they go to the NFL, sometimes it just feels like, yeah, maybe not as good as we all thought they were. Yeah. But Fisher looks like he's projected to be the backup to Titus Howard in the right tackle position. I feel like the Texans offensive lineman is solid. So this Blake Fisher could be probably more as an extra man to go for sure out of situations. because offensive lineman and tackle position could be, is injury happen, that could be considered as a viable insurance policy to develop Fisher, for later. But if if Howard stays healthy, I just feel like the Texans are going to be fine. And if Blake Fisher develops well, talk about a heavy package formation for your short yardage and goal line situations. So this could be more of an insurance policy, and hopefully not because of injury. That's why I'm give him a later sticker. But if he develops into an added extra tackle for short yardage, then that just makes the Texans more dynamic in the short yardage gain and goal line situation. Then with the 78th pick in the third round of the 2024 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans selected Kalen Bullock, safety, USC. Bullock is one of the few players I remember from the USC defense, mainly because of all the interceptions he did. I feel the USC's defense has somehow been disappointing. So thanks to Caleb Williams, I think that's the only reason why USC was considered. But there were times where I watched USC defense and that group, that scheme, the coaching, whatever, USC defense just felt like they were more of a burden to the USC team than anything else. That if Caleb Williams were to get hurt or a ankle sprain or anything, then the Trojans were just doomed. They were doomed. So, but I still remember when USC used to be dominant on defense. That was one of their crowning achievements. Every year they had a strong defense. So seeing them coming in with Bullock coming into the secondary, that they literally addressed their secondary department with 2 picks already. And I think Bullock was probably one of the better defensive backs in the USC program last year. And Bullock is currently being viewed projectively as the backup to Jimmy Ward, another player from another team coming in. So for all I know, all these young players coming in and drafted to the Texan team, while the Texans are evaluating the players they pretty much got from free agencies and trades and what have you, this just feels that let's see how quickly these rookies can develop and see can they really compete against these veterans that are here from other teams on their careers, and see how quickly they can go. Maybe Bullock gets some playing time in package formations. Maybe Bullock will come in and be the dynamic intercepting threat that we all think he's going to be. It's a beautiful thing about football. You don't know until you see him play with the big boys and see what they can really do. But I'm putting my sense of, I like Bullock. I'm looking forward to see what he can do, and let's see how quickly he can develop. And who knows? Maybe, week 4, week 5, he makes plays, gets interceptions on a nickel package formation. Who knows? But I like the pick. Then we go to the 4th round, and with the 123rd pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans selected Cade Stover, tight end, Ohio State. I'm going to say a steal. I liked Stover at Ohio State. I'm going to say he is a steal. If Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't on that team, I think Stover would have had a much bigger contributing factor to the Ohio State passing assault. I like this pick. Now, it's kind of sad to say because you got Dan Schultz, who's still playing at a high level. Also, you got Brendan Jordan, another great tight end there. But we'll see how much Stover can get involved with this. And maybe he doesn't get involved at all. Maybe he just rides the bench. Because you got Nico Collins and Tank Dell. You got Stephon Diggs. And you got players like Robert Woods in there as well. And Noah Brown had a great season last year. So you got 5 receivers there that we all can probably agree are going to be dynamic in keeping the offensive pack. Then you add Dalton Schultz. So you got 6 receiving threats already, with in between of players coming in to get some playing time there. But I just feel that Stover could be the unsung hero. But if the Texans decide to go with a potential 2 to 3 tight end set formation at this time, and for all I know, Stover might not get that much playing time because you got Dalton Schultz, who was effective, so he could be underlooked. But I'm telling you, I feel something with this guy. This guy could make those contested, tight window catches in between a linebacker and a safety, and then get up and be like, first down. So the Texans are full with offensive weapons. They're full. I mean, not now. It's before they got the players like Joe Mixon and Stephon Diggs to join their ranks. So they were already formidable because C.J. Stroud made it great with what he did, and now he has more recipes. more ingredients to make this, offense stew be more powerful. So Silver may not get the attention he deserves, but I'm telling you, just let's see what he does in preseason, because I feel like preseason will be his chance to show out. Going to the 6th round with the 188th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans selected Jamal Hill, linebacker, Oregon. Another player in the Oregon defense that I always feel like, because of Bo Nix's success in passing the ball, sometimes that Oregon defense may not get the credit it deserves, or at least the recognition that Oregon was formidable. And it wasn't because Bo Nix and the offense, had to average almost 40 points a game. The Oregon defense did its part. And in small bits, I feel like Hill could be that factor. Now, Will Anderson Jr., the rookie out of Alabama, was the new fresh face of that defense last year. And I feel like the defense as a whole looked way more formidable with a defensive-minded coach in Ryan. And I'm going to really count on this because Ryan played linebacker when he was a Texan, when he was a player himself, that this just probably felt a little bit like Hill may be project. Hill might need some development. Hill might need some work. That's probably why he's being viewed as a weak side linebacker, third stringer. But I feel like Ryan says, I see something. Let me just grab him, develop him, mold him, and maybe week 10 he gets some playing time. Maybe he'll make factors. Like Stover, I say keep an eye on Hill in preseason, see what he can do. If Hill can be a solid tackler, where pretty much anytime he has a guy in his mitts, he makes a tackle, especially solo. He just needs time to develop the defensive schemes, learn the calls. But Hill could be another player that's, Ryan's developing, kind of like in his image, since he played linebacker, and this could be another diamond he's going to polish and shine, and then maybe not right away, but he could shine later in the season. Then we go to the 205th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. The Houston Texans selected Jahir Jordan, running back, Louisville. Okay, similar to how I feel about the Green Bay thing. Got a new running back, but you also got a veteran in Pierce, who was great, and then you went and got Joe Mixon, a veteran who was effective in his team before he came here, so it wasn't like he was on his last leg. And the way the offense for the Texans is built, I feel like it's going to be more like a 70-30 pass to running back to run the ball ratio. So, and Jordan is viewed as a fourth stringer on the roster. So my question is, because I feel like Joe can be effective on third down to third down back. So how much can Jordan do to work his way into at least the third man on the depth chart and get some, reps here and there? Because running back now is done by committee, and sometimes it's a 1-2 punt and the third stringer comes in as an extra spice of flair. Or if you want to be very, food conscious, the first two running backs are salt and pepper, almost very basic in all recipes. Salt, pepper. But that third running back is either like, paprika, or, a little bit of, garlic powder, such a little bit of flair to make it spicy, or to make it a little bit more rich in flavor. But your basic 1-2 running back is your salt and pepper. That's my analogy. Maybe because I'm really hungry right now doing these videos. But that could be. So we'll see what Jordan can do in preseason. Because sometimes in preseason, most of the time, especially in the last part of the quarter, it's more of fundamentals and schemes. Not so much throw the ball deep and try to win the game. It's more, let's see what they can do. So let's call run plays on 3rd and 17. Because we want to see what you guys can do with the playbook in plays, not so much competitively. So, Jordan, man, I'm sorry. I have you as an else. Running backs, it's hard to make a roster. And you might just become a cap casualty because the Texans feel like they're built for passing the ball way more. Then we go to this. They got 3 picks in the 7th round, roughly about less than 8 picks away from each other. With the 238th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans selected Solomon Byrd, edge, USC. Like I said about USC defense, didn't really scare me. Didn't really make me feel like, oh, remember the day of, Brian Cursing and Malunga and Clay Matthews and Everson Griffin, and you don't remember those defenses anymore. You don't remember those defenses that would wreak havoc and make college football players start thinking about culinary school because playing against that defense was a mistake. You remember those days of USC defense. I remember those days. I love those days. That's probably why I became a USC fan, because of those linebacking core of Matthew, Kirsten, and Ray. So, Will Anderson is officially a defensive end because now they're in a 4-3 defensive scheme. All I can see is that Bird probably needs time to develop. He is currently viewed as the third stringer, so that to me, because I trust Ryan's defensive minded, he probably sees Bird and is going to develop him. He says he doesn't need to rush. He just cannot suck. He has to, if he shows progress in preseason and reading the schemes and not just getting, blown out by a pulling guard or getting manhandled by a tight end, or worse, getting, knocked out in a block by a running back in preseason, he'll probably get his time, maybe get some time later in the season because of health and rotation. So Bird could be a surprise, but just needs some time to develop this, this clay figure of a defensive player. But I trust in Ryan's evaluation of it. So keep an eye on Bird in preseason, see when he makes some splashes. But I trust in Ryan's development of these young front seven players, especially the edge linebacker, because that's more Ryan's take. Then, with the 247th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans selected Marcus Harris, defensive tackle Auburn. And here we go again, developing that front seven with linebackers and edge rushers, and now dealing with interior with Marcus Harris. Marcus Harris, sadly, is viewed very, 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 very far in the depth chart. He's viewed projectively as the fourth stringer behind players like Kurt, Mario, and Denous. So, it's going to be development. It's going to be depth. And sadly, because you're in the fourth string projectively, we got to see how much opportunities in preseason you can develop and see how quickly you can fight your way into the third string and maybe even threaten the second stringers to get rotational time. Because sometimes, let's be real, very few positions have 3 players probably on their roster. But definitely they're definitely not 4. And some of the players they get that are in that are versatile to play multiple positions. Like if a linebacker can play inside and outside, he's valuable. A corner that can play safety and nickel, valuable. A guard that can play guard and center, valuable. So sometimes it could be that. So the more Marcus can contribute to this 4-3 defense, the better. And I think 4-3 defense might help him in getting a roster spot than if it was a 3-4 defense of years past. So Harris could be an else, could be just a casualty of just not enough space. But let's all root for the guy and see what he can do in preseason. Then with the last pick, the 249th pick of the 2024 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans end their return to power with Ladarius Henderson, offensive guard, Michigan. Shaq Mason is not a spring chicken. I think Shaq Mason has been on like 3 teams. I think he was on the Patriots, and he won the Bucks, and then now he's with the Texans now. He is 30, officially 30, which some depend on the business, some that mean a death sentence. But with Nick Broker in front, Henderson could be a development for the future. He may not get the looks this year unless devastating injuries force that hand. This could be clearly as development for Shaq Mason's future. Shaq Mason could play 3 years more, could play 2 years, could call it after this year. We don't know. The age 30 for offensive lineman is considered an evaluation of motivation and health for a lot of ones that reach 30, because sometimes most of those players have already played 10 years in the league, or at the least case 8 years in the league, and sometimes 8 years could be enough for most players, especially if it comes to the sense of motivation and health. And you want to be like, do I want to be in my 50s and have knee problems, or do I want to be in my 50s and maybe still have that itch, but we just say it as like, oh, I could still play today. Anyway, I'm 50 years old. I can still pick up things without going, ow, my back, ow, my knees. So, not criticizing Shaq Mason because he's 30, but we all know that once a player reaches 30, receiver, quarterback, running back, safety, any position, except for maybe a kicker or a punter, once you hear the word, he just turned 30. He turns 30 next week. He turns 30 by week 3. You're like, so I guess we need to start looking at a potential backup, right? I guess we need to start looking into it. It becomes the question of it has begun. Now, Henderson could also be a casualty of just, we don't have enough people, man. We don't have enough spots for you, so you might make it to practice squad. And we'll see, you know, hopefully it's not injury that gets him promoted. But for right now, that's the way it'll go here. And that's the Houston Texans. A lot of picks, a lot of evaluation. Had a little bit of a delay of technical issue there, so snip, snip, snip. So, what is the grade? Well, I do see them as potentially competing for a conference title. I can see them getting there against, you know, teams like the Chiefs or the Ravens or the Bills, or for those of you that really want to be that guy, the Jets. So I have to give them the title of contender. This roster is filled with a lot of potential and the thing is that they didn't have a first round pick. Their first pick was 42nd. But I still feel like a lot of their picks here could be making rotational contribution this year. But that's not including the players they got from free agency to add on to it. So these rookies just made what they got and what they had much more solidified. So I have to give the Texans a contender notification because they look like they're ready to go. Now, of course, when I do my preview for the year and we'll see what they do with preseason and God forbid injuries, then we can evaluate, did my contender recommendation is solid, or was I just reading paper and fantasizing of what could be? But that's the Houston Texans. Contenders, I know. 2 down, 2 to go. So with the Jags, with the Texans, let's go to the two teams that might be a little further away from potentially making a playoff run. But there is one team that I feel like we never got the full picture. So next time we'll be talking about the Indianapolis Colts and give Richardson his full rookie season finally. I think that's fair. So until next time, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic. Thank you so very much for watching.